So just as a reminder, the second call for proposals opened in December and it will close in April, on the 14th of April at 2 p.m. CET time. And we are focusing on 3 topics: the circular economy, the integration of migrants and refugees, and urban mobility. So now I will give the word to Nelida, who will go through the project management.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our fourth series of webinars, the last one for this year. I will go through, our presentation will be divided in 3 parts. The first one will be focused on planning your project management. The second part will be about drafting your communication strategy, and the third part will be about the urban innovative action knowledge. I will start with the first part, which is planning your project management. For this, in order to get your project is completed on time and on budget, achieving the expected results and objectives with good quality, it's the very first thing to do is to make sure that all your project partners, your stakeholders, the target groups, and all the beneficiaries of your projects agree on your, not only on the participation, the commitment, but also on the delivery of the project activities. They agree on the project objectives, the results, the action plan they will be participating in about your application form proposal. As a project manager, when managing this project, you will always need to plan during the 3 different stages of a project: during the design of your application form, the finalization and the submission, during the execution, which is mainly focused on the implementation, the proper implementation of activities, the proper implementation of the work plan elements, and during the closure, where you will need to think about the different arrangements and steps and steps for the administrative closure and the knowledge transfer. But apart from all these steps, you will also need to think and plan about the management team that you will require for your project. You will need to think about the management structures that you will need to build according to the parties you will have involved in your project. You will need to also think about the governance structures and the management procedures. Because in order, as project management is about getting your project activities completed on time and on budget, and achieving the expected results of your application form, the initiative considered the quality of the management an important criterion to be assessed during the operational assessment. For this, you are, as applicants, required to fulfill in the work package 2 management. This is a horizontal work package that helps you from the design of your application form to the closure of your project. Here you will be asked to describe how the management on the strategic and operational level will be carried out during the project by indicating management and governance structures, responsibilities and procedures for the day-to-day management and coordination, tasks and procedures. This, I will make a big remark on this issue. It's important for us to check and to see and evaluate innovative proposals in the management and governance structures, as these structures will be needed when dealing and when working with unusual partners. What do we mean by this? An example of the first goal would be, for example, the city of Vienna that is working with refugees and that is also involving into the management structures and in the decision-making procedure, the city initiatives and also the refugees. Then another example would be the project of Madrid, which is mainly social work related. They have proposed in the application form how to, a specific management structure, how to involve the city initiative in the proposed solution they are planning to implement within the project. So please go beyond the traditional practices of just a steering committee or a steering group or a coordination body. We would also like to see a coordination mechanism with a wider group of stakeholders that will ensure the proper and effective involvement of this party. Then you will be requested to create an activity on reporting to the Permanent Secretariat about the project performance and the expenditure achieved in every single year. Risk and quality management can be also another possibility or activity to include in this work package, or a monitoring and controlling the project performance. And finally, a capitalization activity, which is mainly the involvement of the expert, for which you will receive 50 days, 50 working days of this person with you for the knowledge transfer and capture. It's important to note that costs of auditors, like first-level controllers and initiative experts, should not be included in this work package budget, not in another part of the project budget, because this cost will be covered directly by the initiative. So there is no need, please, to include this cost under this work package. And but how to build your work package too? You will be asked to indicate the responsible partner and the involved partners of the project. You will be asked to make a description in a summary box that is going to be the introduction of the work package. You will be asked to split up the different work package to activities. You have a limit of maximum 5 activities. And then you will be also asked to describe these activities and responsible partner or involved partners if, in the case, you have more than one partner involved. The same for stakeholders. Please indicate this level of detail when describing these elements. Make sure that you also split up your activities into deliverables and indicate the implementation period of these elements by putting the delivery dates and the target values. Describe also the allocated cost in the 200 characters space that you have per budget and per budget line and per partner. From the call one, what we can share with you, some information was that most of the projects considered a budget of from 3% to 12% of the project total budget for this work package. But the majority were between 6 and 8%, but that will depend on your project specificities and nature and the type of activities that you are planning to do. Now, one of the most important key points when planning your project management will be the management structures. In your work package 2, please make sure you include management structures that are appropriate, consistent with the project size and needs. These structures support the strategic, operational, day-to-day management and technical coordination of your project. This can be managed by the main urban authority on staff members, or they can be externalized to another office with long-standing experience in project management. Some examples of management structures can be steering group or steering committee comprising the main urban authority and all the delivery partners for coordination and joint decision making. A central coordination and a consultation body on all the project strategic issues. For example, this will depend on the project specificity, for some specific implementation work packages, or with special requirements on the investment work package activities. A stakeholder platform, a technical committee that will involve experts in your project team, and a project management team. Then the project management team, which I will go also through the roles of these people, will be composed by a project coordinator or a project manager, a finance manager, and a communication manager. Well, there can be another function or role according to your project, but these 3 are the basic ones. For the project manager, the main task could be the coordination of the project partners, the involvement of the project stakeholders, being the main contact person for all the project-related communications with the permanent secretariat, to monitor and ensure the project activities that they are completed on time and on budget, to make sure that the results are accomplished, to adjust and inform the project partners and also the permanent secretariat about possible changes and minor adjustments to be made. Then consolidation and submission of annual progress report. Some of these tasks can be also shared with the management structure. That will depend on you and how you are planning to write your proposal. Then for the finance manager, some examples of tasks could be this person is responsible for sound financial management, which means ensure that the costs are eligible according to the European Union guidelines and regulations. The initiative regulation, and also to consolidate the data for financial claims, the list of expenditure, being the main contact person with the permanent secretariat, being in contact and coordinate the work with the first level controller, the project partners, and also keep the archiving and data collection of all the evidence and supporting documents. And also, why not participating in the recovery procedures when there is a finding or control made. Then we will have the communication manager that will be later explained by my colleague. The contact details of these three people will be indicated in a specific section of in EEP, which is the Electronic Exchange Platform, where you will submit your application form. But this will only be done when your project will be approved. So this section will be open only if your project is approved. But in your proposal, in your application form proposal, we want to see how these roles will be implementing the task in the description of your activities. The following slide will give you an example on the different activities and deliverables that were presented in the first call by different projects. It's not an exhaustive list, it's just a list of ideas of deliverables and activities to be considered. Some of these activities can be also called like the management procedures. What we want to see from you is how innovative you can be when preparing and developing these elements. We want to see how, for example, a coordination mechanism or a coordination platform between the partners and the stakeholders can be used, how these tools of social networks will be used during the management of your project. For example, if we have an unbalanced partnership where a delivery partner, another partner different from the main urban authority, has 60 or 70% allocation of the budget for the investment, we want to see how the main urban authority will keep the control on this type of project. Okay, please have a look to this list. As we are providing you already these basic details, we expect from you to really propose, reflect a creative and innovative solution, management solution for your project. I would like to finalize my presentation. I would like to share with you some lessons learned from the first call. Make sure that your activities and deliverables should include a clear description on what would be achieved in each individual element. Make sure that the partners' involvement should also be reflected in their budget description. If the deliverable is of a repetitive nature, like a newsletter, or a training or workshop, include the last delivery date. In the description, you can specify the start date, when they are expected to be delivered, in between, like, for example, month 3, month 4. Target values should capture the quantity of the deliverables produced and not the number of the beneficiaries. The number of beneficiaries for deliverables that you are planning should be indicated in the activity description or the deliverable description. Before building your project management team, consider the skills needed by the project. We have some specific initiative requirements. For example, I would highly recommend that when you hire a financial manager, make sure that this person already has a previous experience in managing ERDF structural funds, that has a knowledge of ERDF or previous knowledge on managing financial issues on this type of projects. Then, why not the project manager? Then our leadership in our initiative is based on the main urban authority principle, which means that there is a contact person, a main contact person that will always communicate and get in touch with the permanent secretariat at the level of the main urban authority, informing us and exchanging with us about the progress of the project performance, about the difficulties that the project may encounter throughout the project lifetime. And we will not communicate with the project partners, but this person will gather all the questions, gaps, clarifications to be made, and communication to the permanent secretariat. Proper planning prevents poor project performance. Planning represents the 80% of a project. As project manager, make sure that you apply these 6 Ps. There is a lot of great tools that can help you in keeping good track of your project, like Gantt charts, collaborative platforms, critical plan analysis, fishbone diagrams, project management softwares, etc. Think about the types of risks that your project will be exposed to, come up with mitigation measures and an action plan to avoid them if possible. And don't forget that project management is a constant learning procedure of good practices and lessons learned. You will need to adjust and implement any change if needed. A consistent information flow has to be present when planning your project, so that all partners and stakeholders are informed on what is going to happen. So this is going to be the so-called communication strategy. With this, I will give the floor to my colleague, Ellen.
Thank you, Nelita. So I'm going to give you a few tips about how to prepare the communication work package when you fill in your application form. So one first keyword I'd like to give you is innovate. At the UIA, we're asking you to come up with very innovative proposals, be it in the content of your proposal, in the methodology or the processes that you are adopting. Well, this also includes innovating when you are communicating, so being innovative in your communication. It's important for you to understand that communication will be a strategic tool for your project implementation. It's not, communicating about an innovation, about an innovative proposal can be sometimes a challenge, especially when you're tackling an issue which is controversial. You have to be transparent. You have to reach your stakeholders to be able to engage them. Because if you want to implement a change in your local community, you have to involve the local community so that they can adopt this change and accept it. At UIA, we have identified 2 levels of communication. There is the communication at European level. For this, if you are selected, we will provide you our support with your project webpage on our UIA website with harmonized communication tools and templates such as logo or posters templates and so on. What we really want you to focus on in your application form is mainly your communication at local level. The UIA is not a transnational cooperation program, so communicating at the local level to reach your local community will be a key element in your project success. And when you implement communication activity, please keep in mind every time to go back to EU regulation. There are some requirements at EU level because when you are an ERDF beneficiary, you have to acknowledge that you are benefiting from European funds. So I've quoted the regulation here on the slide, so please, every time you will have to refer to it in your communication activity. So, what did I do? Sorry. Yes, sorry. So when you start to fill in the application form, The first thing you will have to do is to describe your communication strategy and your communication objectives. This is the part which we call the summary. So one of our projects, which actually had a very good communication work package, it's a project from Gothenburg. They told us in their communication work package, our motto is that there is no innovation without communication. You have indeed to demonstrate in your summary how your communication activities will help you to reach your project objectives. So you have to show us that communication is not a standalone in your project. You have to show us that it's interrelated with the other parts of your project work plan and that it's interrelated with your project objectives. To give you an example, we have this project from Applicants. So one of our project objectives is to provide this solution, which will become a new governance tool for energy transition built by citizens and for citizens. In their communication strategy, they are organizing all their activities around participatory processes and approach. So they are implementing this governance tool in a district of Applicants, and all their communication activities aim at reaching the right stakeholder, at engaging their local community from this district so that they can adopt this new solution. So you really see that the project success is really related with the involvement of the local community through their communication activities. You will also have to provide some communication objectives. So these have to be specific, measurable, and clear. So we always talk about having SMART objectives. I think that's a word you've heard probably many times during presentations. To give you an example, here you will find an example on the slide. One of our projects had 3 communication objectives, and one of them was that one of our objectives is that 50 potential local energy districts. So you see that it's measurable. They want to reach 50 potential local energy districts, understand this new energy system we are proposing, and see the contractors of this system as trustworthy suppliers. So you see that it's really related with what they want to implement. The second thing you will have to do when you describe your communication strategy is to identify your target groups. So now that you know what you want to achieve, you have to identify with whom you want to work and with which stakeholders. So here what we can recommend you is to start by making a list of stakeholders that have interest or influence on the topic. And the more specific the list of target group will be, the more efficient it will be for you in working with those target groups and in implementing your activities. So what can be those group of stakeholders? Well, first of all, there are of course the end users. To give you an example, we have a project who is working on integration of migrants and refugees, and they want to propose a co-housing solution between young refugees and young people from their local community. So as end users, they have identified young adult refugees and young adults between 20 and 30 who are living in the city. A second group of stakeholders can be the people who are involved in the decision-making process. So in the case of this project on integration of migrants and refugees, they have identified regional and national policymakers in the fields which are relevant for their projects, which are education, inclusion, housing, for instance. Another group of stakeholders can be the people who are involved in the implementation process, for instance, NGO working on the ground. For each of these target groups, you have to see if they have a lot of interest in your project, but not so much influence. Maybe they have a lot of influence because they are high policy level people, but maybe their interest is not so strong, so you have to trigger this interest. And maybe they have both lots of influence and lot of interest. So in this case, they can really be a key group for you. Once you have identified these target groups, you have to inform them about the progress of your project and also to engage them in your project so that they will also adopt this innovative proposal and act in favor of your project. So in order to do this, you have to develop targeted messages and targeted tools to reach each of those single target groups. So you won't address the same way, for instance, in this example, young people and policymakers. So for each of them, you really have to think what's the best way to talk to them and what's the message, what do I want them to do, what's the action I'm expecting from them. Also a small tip, don't forget communication within your partnerships with, and with your administration, so the internal communication. So now this leads us to what type of activities will you put in place to talk to this target group, to reach them and to engage them. If you have already started to fill in your application form in the EEP, you might have noticed that the communication work package is standardized. So we have, it's already, let's say, pre-filled with a set of activities proposals. So you can see an example here on the screen. You can delete some activities. You can also add some activities. So even though it's standardized, there is some flexibility. There are activities which are required for us by the UIA. The first one is the startup activity. So this is really about how you will launch your project. We had a lot of interesting examples through the first scope. We have, for instance, a project which is working on a guaranteed minimum income in a small district of the city. And as a launch activity, they are organizing 3 different meetings with 3 different key stakeholders groups. So this can be, for instance, a very relevant example. We have another example with a project who is going to open 4 different competence labs, and they're organizing some open doors as a launch activity with a bike tour inside the labs. The second activity, which is compulsory, is your final dissemination activity. So here, of course, it's the moment to share the findings of your project, to show what you've been able to implement and to achieve in 3 years' time. It's also the moment when you should think about the transferability of your project. So we have some projects, for instance, for their final dissemination activity, they are participating in a regional conference. So for them, it's the opportunity to share with other cities from their region. So this is an interesting examples. The other activities which are listed in the application form are recommended. So you will find in the list media relation, digital activities, publications, public events. Here there is no one-size-fits-all. It's really depending on your project needs, on your project target groups. For instance, if you are working with young people, maybe developing your digital activities will be very relevant because it's a good way to reach them. So it's really what you want to do with your project and who you're talking to and how you decide to engage them. So of course, you don't have to fill in all those activities which are in the application form. You can delete those who are not relevant for you. And if you have some ideas that we didn't list, you are more than welcome to add. You will find at the bottom of the page there is a sign. You can add as many activities as you want, as long as they are relevant for your project. We have some projects who did it, for instance. We have a project working on energy transition, and they're implementing a solution in a university campus. And as an additional communication activities, they have developed an energy showroom where there are exhibition and conferences on the topic and when people can exchange and share about the project. Then for each of those activities, you will have to describe what you want to do. and what are your different deliverables. For instance, if the activity is publication, the deliverables can be a newsletter, a leaflet, a magazine, etc. You have to give a target value for each of them. So, for instance, if you want to do a newsletter, to come back to the example that Melida gave us previously, if you want to do 2 newsletters per year, for instance, the target value will be 6, so you have to quantify. And my last recommendation would be to allocate sufficient time and budget to this work package. As we've seen, it's quite a strategic work package. So now I will give the floor to my colleague Susanna, who will talk to you about the UIA knowledge.
Thank you, Hélène. So for this final part of the webinar, we wanted to go through with you what we mean by UIA knowledge and the role of the UIA expert that Melida mentioned previously. So just as a reminder, UIA projects are special projects because they are groundbreaking projects that will test solutions that have never been tested before in Europe. And with that, there will be the very big creation of knowledge that is of interest across Europe for many urban authorities. And this knowledge should be used in future to transfer these good practices if they can be applied. So because of this, we really want to make it clear that when we fund the projects, we expect that there's a knowledge that will be created. But also UIA projects are special because we focus on the implementation of actions. It's not about talking about exchange of policy, of ideas, of best practices. It's really about putting things on the ground. So for this reason, when we look at the UIA knowledge, we will look at the challenges surrounding the implementation of these innovative actions. So as you will see on the slide, we've listed 7 main challenges that we foresee that urban innovative actions may face when implementing their solutions. So, for instance, there could be challenges on how to deploy this new solution. It could be about challenges around the procurement process because, we're trying out something new. It could be on how to involve key stakeholders. Having a participatory approach is important when you're dealing with innovation and sustainable urban development, but could be difficult to involve all those right partners at the right time. We also see that by trying out a new solution, there could be challenges on how the municipal services deal with this, because there could be a reluctance to work together. So there could be a reluctance for cross-departmental working, which we've seen has been a problem in the past with big administrations. We've also identified as a possible challenge the process of monitoring and evaluating the results of the projects that we fund. UIA projects are also special because they will bring in their own methodology where you can test things as they go along in the 3 years of implementation. So how to incorporate the results and how to adapt could be also a challenge. As Hélène was saying, there's communicating with local partners is very important, but how do you do this and how do you do it on a new solution it could be a challenge. And lastly, we thought maybe the scaling up of the solution that may be in the first instance at a local level, at a district level, how do you scale it up or how do you make the target group bigger? So this could be also a challenge. We've listed these 7 challenges because we thought these are quite core and they are could be common to all projects. As you know, the UIA is dealing with 12 topics of the urban agenda, so it's quite difficult to tailor all the challenges per topic. So we have identified broad subjects that are common to all. So this knowledge will be captured, as we've said, with the role of the UIA expert. And what do we mean by this UIA expert? Well, this is a profile that will be paid by the initiative. It will be a person who will be assigned to each project, and they will have a very key role in capturing all that knowledge that perhaps maybe the management team won't be able to do because they will be busy with implementing. And it's an outsider who will be able to visit the project and learn of how it's implementing and how it's progressing. So the UIA expert has 3 key roles. It is that person will provide advice and guidance to the project when needed. It will capture that knowledge that is generated within the project and will share that knowledge within across Europe. This person will work during the 3 years of implementation and on the last year, which is this year of knowledge transfer. So they will have 50 days for these 3 + 1 years, so 4 years. The role of the expert is to work really with the project. And for this reason, the main urban authority, so the lead partner of the UIA project, has a role in deciding who is going to be their expert, although this will have to be in agreement with the UIA Permanent Secretariat. So what will this expert do during these 3 years of implementation and 1 year of knowledge transfer? Well, during these years, the UIA expert will visit the project, will provide a bilateral advice. So for instance, if there is a key question, burning question of how to implement the project around, or an issue around, for instance, public procurement, and the main urban authority just cannot find the answer, they have that expert to provide advice or to go and gather that advice in order to provide it to the project. The expert will also put together a journal, a diary of the project on how it progresses. So how it started, how it's doing 6 months down the line, 18 months down the line, etc. So it's a progressive storytelling. They will also produce a zoom-in on a special focus on the project, whether it be on interviewing how the politicians in that city are changing the way they're working just because of the project. For instance, it will be a zoom-in and tailored to that project. And then finally, on the last year of this knowledge transfer and closure, the role of the expert will be also to support in the production of the final qualitative report. You will find anyway the activities of the UI expert already in the application form when you go in the EEP. So you will, you won't, you'll see these, you don't have to fill it in from scratch. So this is so that you know. As we've said, the expert has 50 days to capture, to provide advice, and it has this specific role around the challenges of implementation. So you will have, the projects will have this person to do this, but that doesn't mean that the project cannot do their own capitalization activities. So if we really do encourage you to also propose your own capitalization activities if that would complement what the expert would do, because we think it's also important, and it will also help in this transfer of your best practices, which is part of the criteria of the UIA projects. So the UIA experts will also help with the transfer of the knowledge across all the other initiatives and organizations and projects that are in Europe related to the sustainable urban development. And there you can see on our slide this urban ecosystem that we've included, because of course we don't want to work in our own silo, and we are very, very much linked up to all these different European initiatives, such as the Urban Development Network, URBAC, the Urban Agenda for the EU, and also associations such as Energy Cities and Eurocities, who are already working on policy development and would benefit also from the knowledge of implementation that the projects would produce. So that's a few words. Just as a reminder that, as Nelida said before, please do not allocate your own budget for the UI experts. These 50 days will be covered by the initiative, so use perhaps that money that you may have foreseen for this expert for another activity if you need it. So just as a reminder to finalize this presentation, that the deadline is coming up pretty quickly. It's on the 14th of April, and it closes at 2 p.m. Central European time. So please make sure that you have everything filled in and submitted, and don't wait until the last minute, just in case you have any technical issues, such as the internet not working, etc. So the deadline will close then. We will then proceed with the assessment, the eligibility check, strategic and operational assessment, and we estimate that the approval of the second core projects will be in October 2017, with them starting on the 1st of November. So this is the expected timeline. So now that you've heard from us it's time to hear from you. If you have any questions, now is the time to put them forward to us. Okay, so we have a question from Eugenio. So if the main idea of the project has been already proved, but the usage of it is innovative, is this an innovative action? So this is perhaps it's perhaps worth looking at our first webinar, which was focused on innovation. And there we really made it clear that the innovation for the UIA is about looking at solutions that have never been tested in Europe before. So it's not innovation at the local, regional, national level, but really at EU level. As we mentioned, there were two types of innovation that we've identified. One is a revolutionary innovation, which is something never been tested before at all. Or the evolutionary, which is a practice that perhaps had already existed, but you're adding innovative elements or trying to target it at a new group, and you're evolving it, and you're proving what is the evolution, what is your the innovative element that you've brought in. But really do look at our webinar and our presentation because it would make it more clear for you.
So there is a question from Rosa. Should the project have its own separate website, or the page on the UIA website is enough? So indeed, we are developing those project webpage on the UIA website. They have a European audience, so this page will not help you to reach your local community. To talk about your project locally, you can either talk about your project, have a web page on your urban authority website, so on your institutional website. If you want to have your own project website, that's okay. You just have to justify it enough. We had a project, for instance, in Lille. They are developing this space where it's around food, and this space where people can come and share recipes and cook, and also there is some entrepreneurship which is being developed inside, and they have developed their own website where all the local community who is using this space can have access to the latest information, can share information. So in this case, the project website is really relevant because it's really related to what they want to do with their project. So it's perfectly fine to have your own project website as long as it's enough justified in your application form.
For communication.
Which budget could be reasonable for the communication activities? Well, I won't be able to give you an answer right now, but I think it's depending also on what you want to achieve, how important is your communication work package. If you want to do a lot of events, a lot of publications, or if you want to do just a smaller set of communication activities, maybe Nelida, you want to complete?
No, it's what you are saying. That will depend very much on the project nature that you have, on the nature of the activities, the scope, and the extent of what you need to communicate. So we cannot limit you there, but just be reasonable, and everything has to be justified properly in the application form. Then we have a question from Danielle Coco, and she says two questions regarding communication. What average percentage of the total budget was allocated in the first call for approved projects for communication? Is there a limit of maximum 5 activities, including in the 2 mandatory launch and final?
So the average percentage of total budget in the first call project, I can't answer.
I think probably between 8 to 15% of the total budget project total budget, depending on the nature of the project.
Yeah. And regarding there is no limit of maximum 5 activities. So you have 2 activities which are compulsory. And then you can add activities. There is a small sign at the bottom of the page, and you can add activities. So we don't have a limit of 5.
It's quite different to the implementation activities and the work package in management. Communication is the only work package when you can create more than 5 activities.
Okay, so we have a question from Maya, and she states, whatever is the innovation, nobody has explained the complex and heterogeneity situation of subsidiarity in each and any member states. So how can the project be easily disseminated and transferred? Again, Maya would recommend that you look at our first webinar, which was on the innovation criteria. The UIA is just really important to remember. The UIA is looking for solutions that are innovative, as we said, never been tested before. But also we're looking for solutions that can be transferred from one urban authority to another. And when we look at the solutions proposed, we're not looking at something that is extremely specific to one urban authority, that the solution would only benefit that urban authority or very few others. So that's why when we evaluate them, when we assess them, our experts who assess the project proposals always look at this element to see that it actually can be transferred and it's not something niche to one city.
There is a question from Ingrid about the difference between a project output and a project deliverable. This was a topic already covered in the previous webinar, intervention logic. Well, the difference will be mainly that the project output is the main product that results from the funding given to the project, the main product of a project, while the deliverable will be the intermediary step or relevant steps to achieve and to finally produce this main product. Deliverables will be the relevant steps on which your main activity will be divided to finally achieve the output.
Yeah, I don't know if there's any other question.
Please, if you have more questions, this is the moment. So we are here to answer all and clarify all your doubts. Any questions? All the materials of the webinars will be available in the website, are available in the website already for first webinar, second webinar, third webinar will be soon published. Along with the videos of these webinars, where you will have our audio recording and the explanation of these the notions, elements of and the content of these webinars. You will also have a PDF version of all the PowerPoint presentations, so these can be useful tools for you to finalize your application form proposal.
Yeah,
there is another question from Frederica. How much staff time should be allocated to project management? That will depend. First, you will have to decide if your project management will be implemented and performed by the staff members of the main urban authority organization, or if this will be allocated to an external body or consultant. That will depend on the nature of the project. How much budget, then you will have to, for this it's important to plan, to check all the activities that you have in your work plan, the intervention logic, the objectives, all these elements, and to make a reasonable planning on how many staff members you will be allocating or will be necessary to deliver and implement all the activities and coordinate all what you are planning regarding the project management work package. So it's up to your project nature.
Question from Daniele. We should concentrate the communication at local level, right? Yes. But we can think international activity to give a wider resonance to the project. Is it suggested? Yes, of course. I mean, I was saying that we are helping with the communication at European level because we are providing you a European visibility and some tools to help you. And we are recommending you to concentrate your work package on local communication. However, if you want to, if you want to do some activities at the European level, as long as it's justified and it's well implemented, I think it's relevant as well for your project.
To complement this, we have, for example, some of our projects where the main urban authority are members of networks where they attend regularly European meetings, and they've included them because it's part of their dissemination and communication activities. So if you're already participating in this, it's actually beneficial to include them.
There is a question from Rosa. Can the main urban authority subcontract project management to a private company? Yes, indeed, project management can be either implemented by the own staff members of the main urban authority, or if there is not enough capacity to do so, given a proper justification in the proposal, then why not to externalize it to a company, to a private company? Just make sure that the external office or the company will have a long-standing experience in project management, and especially experience in ERDF funds or project delivery. That will help you very much. And I think that's it.
So Anna is asking if it's possible to submit a project draft before the deadline and consult the UIA Permanent Secretariat. This is not a possibility that we offer. The reason being is that the proposals that you submit are not assessed, the strategic part of your proposal is not assessed by the UIA Permanent Secretariat. We recruit a panel of external experts that will assess the innovation, the partnership, the measurability and the transferability of your project proposal. So we could not give you any feedback on the idea ourselves. So unfortunately, that's not a possibility at the moment. So Dominique has also a question if it's possible to read application forms from the first round projects. Again, this is not a possibility because it's data, it's confidential to the people who submitted the proposal and and in our system. So we cannot free up this information at least for this call. So it's not possible. What we do recommend is that you look at our project web pages on our website, where you can find out exactly which projects we funded and why we funded them.
There is a question from Ingrid, kind of a tricky question. It says, can the project management be implemented by one of the delivery partners? Our main concern is to make sure that the main urban authority or the urban authority of the project, the lead partner, as is called in traditional ERDF funds, has the control of the project management and has the control of the implementation of the activities itself. So I think it would be better for us, a recommendation from our side, to allocate the project management to the main urban authority. Or in case you have a really external person needed for this, or an expert, this person has to be directly responsible to the main urban authority. I'm afraid of saying this. So I do not see the point on having a delivery partner and having the control on the project management, because we will have this principle of main urban authority, where the permanent secretariat will have to be in contact with a person of the main urban authority, but not only on that, is that the subsidy contract is signed between the initiative, the Urban Innovative Actions Initiative, and the main urban authority. So how to ensure this control when you have to be responsible against this document that you will sign if you will not manage the control of your project. So then our recommendation would be to keep it at the level of the main urban authority.
So I don't know if there's any more questions from the participants, or if we've managed to answer all your doubts.
So, question from Daniele. Are there examples in the first call approved project of communication work package in charge of agencies specifically contracted? I don't remember right now, but I think, this is possible if you want to externalize your communication work package to an agency. This is possible. then in this case, I would join what Melida was saying with the previously on the management. It has to be first justified, because for us, communication is a strategic tool. We usually recommend that it's the main urban authority in charge, although it can also be a delivery partner, because they are the one who have the global overview of what you want to achieve. So yes, it's possible, but it has to be justified, and it has to be, I mean, in close with the main urban authority.
And also take into account, I saw an example of the first call that within the partnership there was a specific partner that had special competences on communication, for example. So when this is the case, we will always counter-check if there is a coherence between the competences that you are describing in the partnership section of the application form of your partners and what they are really implementing during your application form. So, and the activities. So if you really have a good panel, a delivery panel with this outstanding experience in communication, why not use it?
Question from Dominique. Are the launch of the first round of project accessible website publication? What do you mean by the launch?
Yes, the launch. No, information about the UIA cities, so the initiative cities, we have it in the section of...
we have UIA cities. It's a specific section of our website where you can find all information about the cities which have been funded. And we also had this small publication about the cities selected for the first call. So, but I think we cannot give it to you now, so better to go on the website.
And because we've only just started with the projects, we currently have a description of the project, of the challenge, of the proposed solution, etc. But we don't have publications yet. But of course, they're coming now as the projects continue with their activity.
You're welcome.
Okay, we will give you just a final chance to ask us questions. If there is any burning question, please, this is the moment. If not, you can, okay. If you can answer, please, Susie.
So there's a question from Maya. So she asks, has the UIA proposed to launch a public announcement in order to identify the project partners? I think this was again, this is relevant to the partnership webinar that we had. So we do not propose, we are not a prescriptive initiative where we tell projects how to select their delivery partners. This is absolutely up to the main urban authority launching the call for their own partners and how they search and put together their partnership. What we do recommend is that you look at your own, whether your city rules, your national rules, your regional rules, if you need to look for your partners in a transparent and open way. We recommend it, of course. We think it's the better way to do it transparently, but also in some countries we are aware that there may be a certain regulation that obliges urban authorities to have an open call. So just to make this clear.
There is more. The questions? Yeah, because you just go scroll down. Questions, announcements. And on the side you scroll down. Oh, yeah.
Well,
Okay, so I think that's all the questions that we have from the participants. I hope that you have found these webinars interesting and useful for your proposal. All we can do now is give you our contact details and also wish you the best of luck on this process of putting together your application form, and we look forward to looking at your proposals in April. Thank you very much.
bye.
Bye.
Bye, thank you.